All right, looks like we're live. Hopefully this thing's working. I'm John Bryan, West Virginia civil rights lawyer, and I just got a chance here a few minutes ago, though I've been working all day, and really I've got, I think, a ringing in my ear right now because I've been on the phone literally all day long, back to back. But I did get a chance finally this evening to look at this huge search warrant application that was filed with a federal court by the ATF. And I just thought if I was going to go over that search warrant, why not just go ahead and do it in a live video so that I don't have to do that twice. Let me turn this thing off. And I actually have a last second guest that I'm glad can join me here. And since I'm on the phone all day and not keeping up with maybe the latest news, it's probably a good idea to bring in somebody who stays on top of this stuff more than I do. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on here. This is John Crump, and let's test out the connection here. Hey, John, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Let me just introduce you real quick. John, and this is actually the first time I've spoken to him in person, so I appreciate him coming on. But John's NRA instructor, constitutional activist, former CEO of Veritas Firearms LLC, and co-host of the Patriot News podcast.
I don't do the Patriot News podcast anymore. That's okay. All old.
All right, so he knows a lot, and he's involved with the Gun Owners of America. In fact, I think you're correct me if I'm wrong again, but you're the head of the Virginia section of the Gun Owners of America.
Yeah, I am the Virginia State Director for Gun Owners of America, in addition to my writing.
And a lot of your writing that I saw, I think, was on Ammoland.com.
Yeah, Ammoland is my day job. That's where I work. They pay me
because that's where I first saw your name came up, and then when a lot of times, being the way I am, I like to click on the name and see whose opinion it is that I'm reading, and that led me to your bio and the fact that you're working with the Gun Owners of America. And in the last few firearms cases that I've handled, I've really been impressed by the Gun Owners of America, because they've been interested in a lot of these cutting edge issues, the real life issues, whereas I can't even get somebody at the NRA to return a phone call or get interested in some of these issues. So that's not really why I was bringing you on, but I think a lot of people have been really impressed with the Gun Owners of America and what they're doing right now. But what I want to do is just, I know that you've been keeping up with this POLYMER80 saga that's been going on right now with the ATF raiding their business in Nevada and getting all sorts of records, and then potentially going after or questioning their customers. And I had just looked at this search warrant application, so I have that to go over it, and I can put it up on the screen. But let me just first ask you sort of your thoughts on the POLYMER80 situation that's going on right now.
Yeah, I think it's really ridiculous what they're putting POLYMER80 through, and you're about to go over the search warrant application. And there's a lot of information in there that I find kind of disturbing that they used to get this search warrant. Like one of the things, the ATF has a opinion letter. In 2018, the ATF issued an opinion letter on the POLYMER80 kits, but they're saying that they're now a firearm because they came with like the lower parts kit, where before they only came with the locking block and the jigs and the drills. So somehow by adding a small bag of parts, they're turning something that's perfectly legal into a firearm.
Yeah, so any one of these parts by themselves is completely legal. It's not a firearm. They can sell it online without going through the usual process of selling a firearm. But just the marketing aspect and the packaging and the convenience aspect of putting it into one package and actually calling it a buy, build, and shoot kit, that somehow turns it into a firearm in their opinion now at this point. It sort of reminds me of 2020 in and of itself, where none of us, really have any idea what the law is anymore. Legislatures aren't making laws. It's, some bureaucrat or tyrant and some executive branch bureaucracy somewhere who just decides based on God knows what that they're going to change, some law that we rely on or businesses rely on. And that's exactly, it appears, what's happening here.
Yeah, if you look at the internal documents, well, I guess people can't really look at them because they're internal documents that I got my hands on. It's really funny because they say that they can't tell anyone if it's a firearm or not until they look at it, and it's on a case-by-case basis, which is kind of ridiculous.
And, looking through, maybe I can bring it up on the screen here, looking through, and this is the search warrant application itself.
Yeah, I went through that earlier on today. I got an article coming out like any minute now about this.
And is that going to be on Ammoland?
That will be on Ammoland, yeah.
So ammoland.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. But if you just scroll to the bottom of this, these are the exhibits to the search warrant application. And you can see where it shows where Polymer80's lawyers from California back in 2016 had sent these items to the ATF's, I guess, their research branch for a formal written opinion on whether or not it's legal for them to sell these things, or whether it's going to be, classified by them as a firearm, which would then require it going through an FFL and having a background check and all that. And this is their lawyer's letterhead where they were sending these items to the ATF. And then you have the letters responses from the ATF that basically said, yeah, after taking a look at the items that you sent us, these are not classified as firearms, and you can go ahead and sell these things.
Yeah, that is true. I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure being put on there. If you look at I'm not sure if you got into this yet, but the ATF field office that actually executed the raid is not a Nevada field office. It's actually a California field office. And right now, California is suing the ATF over 80% frames. But I think there's a lot of pressure on these agents to act. From what I'm being told, it's the LA field office that put pressure on Martinsburg or West Virginia, where Fat D is, and also DC, to go ahead and crack down on 80% frames. So it's coming from DC and stuff, and they had Regina Lombardo and Marvin Richardson, which actually out of Martinsburg, West Virginia. But it's at the behest of the LA field office, which I think is getting a lot of pressure from California itself. In fact, Polymer80 had a subpoena from California for customer records, and Polymer80 told California to go pound sand. We're not giving that over to you.
Yeah, if you read through the search warrant application, it shows that they had so-called undercover ATF agents in California make orders online with P80, and they, I guess, appearing undercover in an online buy. I suppose that just means putting false and fake information into the customer information blocks when you buy something.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous to say you're undercover and you're sitting behind a computer in an ATF office somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it gets more ridiculous than that. One of the big takeaways that I think Polymer80 should get a lot of credit. I'm giving Polymer80 a lot of credit because they're doing everything the right way. The customer information that they did get, I heard they didn't get a lot because most of the customer information that Polymer80 has is on the cloud, and they took some computers. In fact, they took one computer that they just use for gaming. So they're really depressed because they took their gaming computer. It looks like most of the information, the customer information that they did get is from two sources, stamps.com and authorize.net.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. What's the consensus now as far as their customers being contacted? Do we know whether or not, I know there were some YouTube videos, or some of these firearms YouTube guys were had some videos stating that they were contacted by people who were customers who had bought these 80% kits, and now they had been contacted or had a door knock from the ATF. Is there any more information out on that right now as far as whether or not they're actually approaching customers, or whether that's true?
Publicly, I'm not going to really get into. I know some stuff behind the scenes where there might be some action coming down, legal action from not from the ATF side, but from the good guy side. On this, I'm not going to get too much into details. What I will say is that it looks like all the incidents are out of two different field offices. I know Polymer80 was told by the ATF they weren't going to contact any customers or anything, but it looks like two field offices might have done that. It doesn't look like it's widespread nationwide. They're going to everyone. What I think happened is these two, this is just my opinion and looking at it, this is what it seems like to me, that these two field offices acted on their own and didn't really have orders, or you would see it everywhere instead of just two different field offices.
Yeah, this guy John H had just commented that there's a pretty good chance anyone posting on this chat will soon have two options, and one of them is a re-education camp. Now, I put that up because there was actually a part, and I guess you read this, there was actually a section in this search warrant that had mentions Polymer80's Instagram account, and actually they were following, I'll put it up, they were following the Instagram account and brought up some of the discussion from the Instagram account in the search warrant. So here's section H of the search warrant application. Now, for anyone listening that doesn't know, this is a federal search warrant application that's actually going to a federal magistrate judge. In a lot of cases, most search warrants are state level search warrants, and they're nowhere near this amount of specificity. So this is a
119 is unusual.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I said 119 pages is unusual.
Yeah, 119 pages. Like, for comparison, even in a murder case here in West Virginia, we're talking about like a narrative that's at most 2 pages, maybe 3 pages in a state court case. And here, this is 119 pages, and including discussion of what happened on Instagram. So section H, and all this is under oath. So this is something that the law enforcement officer who's signing it does so under oath. So it says that on April 19th of 2020, so they had been at this for some time. ATF Special Agent Monica views the publicly available Instagram account for Polymer Inc. And it goes into, what video it was attached to. And so then they go through the comments, and the comments make their way into this search warrant application. And so there's a discussion. It says, our sponsored shooter and trainer owner of Tactical Fitness Austin explains why our 80% pistol frame kits are in high demand right now. And it goes on and says that the individual says a lot of people contact him about their difficulty in trying to buy firearms. The individual states that Polymer80 allows people to build firearms themselves, and further states that, quote, you don't have to worry about the background check. He also mentions that individuals can have the items shipped to their homes. And then in the comments section of Polymer80's post, a user named Ellipsis415 wrote, quote, "I wouldn't be touting don't have to worry about a background check as a bonus to the P80 system." And then they go into the back and forth between whoever was operating the Instagram of Polymer80 and just some random user named Ellipsis on Instagram. And that stuck out to me as just, it's always funny. I mean, people joke around, like John said, of the feds like watching you in just some stupid chat group or board somewhere or social media somewhere, and joking, halfway joking about it. But the actual truth is there are actual federal employees right now, special agents of whatever one of these agencies, that are monitoring these things and recording them, and they're going to make their way into some search warrant application at some point.
Yeah, and it's just not this search warrant. I've been doing this for a while. I've been tracking different ETF stuff since about 2013, and I always see Instagram posts and Facebook posts and stuff showing up in these federal search warrants. They're going to use anything possible to build a case against you, whether it's circumstantial or not, whether it's petty or not. That's why the federal search warrant started so long. If you look in there, it goes into where it says that 2 kits they discovered were shipped overseas. And the agent says, in his opinion, that international firearms traffickers use the internet to buy firearms and firearms parts. And they made it sound like it was this huge conspiracy of international firearms dealers shipping kits overseas when it's only like 2. So they try to build a case against you and try to make it sound as bad as possible.
It's interesting that they subpoenaed stamps.com, because that's not something that would have immediately popped into my head is, oh yeah, well, we got to get the stamps.com information for this company that we're looking into.
I've kind of figured that was going to happen. I kind of figured that's where they got it from. I didn't report on that originally because I didn't know for sure, but it's just not the first time.
Yeah, I have the search warrant here for this portion, and I mean, there's to their credit, there's a lot of information in here. They're very specific. Stamps.com and authorized.net records show that Polymer80 shipments to potentially prohibited persons and locations. So they have a specific date here, June 5th, 2020, in response to a subpoena, received records from stamps.com. And according to the records, Board, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I guess that's the owner of the company, was an account holder for stamps.com. Let's see. So it has, as far as what information that they were able to get from Stamps, shipping labels that were created by the account. And obviously that's going to show, I mean, if they printed out all their shipping labels for every customer of Polymer80, then boom, they have the name and address of all of them right there. So I suppose that's what that means.
Yeah, they had the shipping labels. I think the reason why they went to Polymer80 is to figure out exactly what was purchased.
And then authorized.net, I guess that's the credit card processor.
That is correct. That is the credit card processor. They are authorized.net is one of the largest credit card processors in the country, besides like Stripe. But Stripe is more of like small websites. Authorized.net, for example, they do like Walmart and like Target and like the big boys.
And they actually put the numbers in here as far as how many of these kits were sold. The first number they give is here, 51,800. That looks like total shipments from Polymer80 from January of 2019 through October of 2020. And then they find that, where is it? Well, 9,400 items to customers in California. Okay, here it is. 1,490 buy, build, shoot kits. And that's what we're talking about here to customers throughout the United States. So 1,500 of these were shipped out.
And 202 kits to California, because you got to remember the ATF field office that executed the warrant is a California field office.
All right, here we go. Yeah, 202 specifically to California, which was the most out of any state. So, what a lot of people have asked so far me, as far as if they bought these kits, what should they do? And other than making sure they understand what their Fourth Amendment rights are, and that they have the right to keep their mouth shut, and that's almost 99.99% of the time the proper course of action. Has there been any guidance from the Gun Owners of America as far as what just regular purchasers of this product should do, if anything? And I'm not talking about people who are felons or were possibly buying large numbers of these things to sell as firearms, but just a regular purchaser. I mean, is there any consensus yet about what they should do, or is the GOA providing any guidance or help here?
Well, you should not. I'm not a lawyer, so can't give legal advice. But just remember, you have the right to remain silent, and in most cases, that's the best thing to do with dealing with police. You're not gonna talk yourself out of an arrest or anything like that. And from the attorneys that I've talked to, they don't think anyone's going to be prosecuted for buying a kit, unless you're like a felon or something like that. But if an average everyday person's not going to be prosecuted for buying these kits. But you should not talk. Remember, you have the right to your attorney. If you need us, contact GOA. But you should not talk. If the police are asking you questions, they are building a case against you. They're not talking to you for just for conversation. They're trying to get information from you. So be polite, and just remember that you have to exercise your rights.
That's basically the same thing that I've told people. I mean, I saw that there was one lawyer out there who was advising people to, if the ATF shows up at your door, to give them the item and ask for a receipt. Now, there might be a specific reason for that. I don't know. That's not something that I would advise someone to do without specific guidance, that's going to be a good idea. I mean, I think without more, that's exactly what sort of my opinion was, is it just can't be illegal to have bought a product that was represented as legal both by the ATF and by the company that you bought it from at the time that you bought it. Without more than that, even if they reverse their position on what's a firearm, they can't have enough at that point to charge you with a crime or even to get a search warrant for your house. That doesn't mean that they won't try. So you're in a pretty good position just with them having the authorized.net records and the stamps.com records. And if they're talking to you, it's most likely to try to build a search warrant case or a criminal charge using your own mouth.
Yeah,
so
don't make
you're going to talk yourself into it at that point. It's always safest to just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, you have a right to an attorney, and what a lot of people don't realize is that the police do not, or law enforcement do not have the responsibility, or how to say it, that they don't have the requirement to tell you the truth. They can lie to you and say, "Hey, we're going to go get a search warrant," and they might not, and they might know that they don't have enough for a search warrant, but that's not going to stop them from telling you that.
Ken H says felons can buy these. It's the finishing of the product that violates the law. And yeah, I mean, if I saw that in the search warrant application that it said that on the Polymer80 website that there was a not a disclaimer, but a thing that popped up that said, by buying this product or continuing with this sale, you're saying that you're not a convicted felon, you're not otherwise and they go down the list of all the things that could make you a quote prohibited person. But then they complain that, well, it's not under oath, it's not under penalty of perjury. I mean, well, yeah, obviously because it's not a firearm, but yeah, I mean, felons can do, or criminals can. I mean, they can and will do all sorts of things that are illegal. I mean, hell, they could illegally manufacture a gun without using Polymer80's kit just by watching YouTube videos.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's like I have a Ghost Gunner 3 right next to me, actually in the room next to me, and that is a great thing that lets me finish 80% frames. But right next to that, I have a 3D printer which lets me print off whatever I want to print off, and neither one of those things are illegal. You got to remember, you can go to Home Depot and buy stuff to make a shotgun. Are they gonna arrest you or prosecute Home Depot for selling a firearm if you buy everything that's needed to make a shotgun from Home Depot? I don't think the ATF has too strong of a case.
Well, I've given the opinion for a long time that, and others, that there's a lot of litigation yet to come as technology increases, not just with the smartphones and the clouds, but with 3D printers and things of this nature. I mean, there's all sorts of legal holdings that don't exist yet because people haven't been arrested for it yet. The government hasn't really had the balls to try it yet. And now when you have what looks like Biden coming in now, the ATF, I'm sure, loves it. And they're feeling emboldened, and they're gonna try all sorts of prosecutions that they didn't really dare to do the last 4 years. And there's probably going to be all sorts of new law that comes out of this stuff.
Yeah, my sources inside the ATF, I wrote an article a while back where they reported that Regina Lombardo and Marvin Richardson, the two heads of the ATF, spoke with the Biden transition team, and they said their two top priorities were pistol braces and 80% lowers. And it looks like they're going after that a little bit earlier than what everyone expected.
Yeah, and I saw that on the GOA site there was a form you could fill out to send a message to Trump to please fire this woman or redirect her to some other employment position, before he leaves office.
Well, it'd be very easy. Marvin Richardson and Regina Lombardo are both on waivers. They've already passed the mandatory retirement period. In the ATF, you can only stay for a certain amount of years before you have to retire. Both of these people have passed that year mark, and they both have waivers to stay on. So it'd be very easy for Trump just to remove those waivers, and they would be gone the next day.
All right, I'm looking back at the search warrant application. They actually include pictures in here.
Yeah.
So they actually include a picture of when their so-called undercover agents ordered the buy, build, shoot kit. This is they unpacked the kit when it arrived to them at their undisclosed location in California, and this was what was inside it. So if you're wondering exactly what you would get, this is the kit where all of these items were declared by the ATF to be legal to sell online and not firearms, but the combination of them together, then it just becomes really scary and then becomes illegal. So that's actually the kit right there. And then here's what the Polymer 80 gun would look like once you went through the work to finish it.
Yeah. They said that they built that within like 19 minutes, which I kind of find hard to believe. If they did, I don't think it was built very well.
Yeah, did they test fire it though?
They said it test fired, which means it could mean like one bullet, you know.
Yeah, here it is. On or about July 14th, 2020, Special Agent Hamilton test fired the handgun using a round of commercially available 9mm caliber ammunition that had the projectile and propellant removed. I'm not sure. Does that mean that the round fired and ejected, or they were
hit the primer? See, that's the whole entire issue. It hit the primer and the primer went off. Well, I can do that with a hammer and a nail. So
yeah. The firing pin struck with sufficient force to detonate the primer. SSA Hamilton repeated the test using another primed cartridge case with the same result, and the firearm appeared operable. Firearm is pictured below. So that's the one that they supposedly put together in 19 minutes, I suppose.
Well, they have one that was put together in 22 minutes. Well, that's the one they put together in 22 minutes. They put one together in 19 minutes, and they put another one together in 22 minutes. And that one fired. But you know, I don't know. Have you ever built a 80% frame?
No, I haven't.
There's a lot of filing and sanding and everything else that has to be done. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it does take time to file and get everything right. Get like dremeled out to get the. If it's not, you know, it's not going to cycle.
All right, so here's the laws that they say was violated, or they say, I believe there's probable cause to believe that Polymer 80 committed these following violations of federal law: shipment or transport of a firearm by an FFL to a non-FFL in interstate or foreign commerce. So basically shipped a firearm to a non-FFL. And correct. If that's a federal crime, then why does the Biden administration need to close this loophole of buying firearms online? I thought you could buy firearms online. They always leave out the part where federal law requires it to be shipped to an FFL after you buy it online. They always leave that part out, but here they didn't leave it out.
Yeah, that is a funny thing that they do. And the thing is, it's to create confusion, and to when they leave parts out, they're not lying to you, they're just not telling you the whole truth. And so you assume that they're talking about like buying firearms online that's going to come to your door. I wish that was the case, and I want that to be the case, but that's not the case.
Or the gun show loophole.
Right? Yeah, the gun show loophole is something that's always mentioned. There was actually a politician in Virginia who went to a gun show and said, look, I got this AR-15 from a dealer and it didn't have to go through a background check. And I called him out on it on Twitter, because I was like, no, you didn't. You did not buy that from a dealer. And then he just blocked me. Luckily, he didn't win the election, but it shows you how the anti-gun side will lie to you.
Well, do you recall this, that even remember when Comey was still the director of the FBI, I recall that he was being questioned. I want to say maybe it was before Congress, and they had asked him, I don't remember why this came up or what year this was, but they asked him, or one of the senators did, I believe, or whoever was questioning, they asked him, you know, about people being able to buy firearms online. And Comey had no idea. Of course, he had no idea. He had no idea that you couldn't just buy them online, that you could buy them and pay for them, but it'd still have to be shipped from the manufacturer or the commercial gun seller to an FFL in his state, and there'd be a background check and a legal transfer at that point. He didn't even know that. He said, well, I'd have to go look at that. I mean, it was obvious that Comey knew nothing about what the federal laws even were, regarding guns and FFLs, and which is surprising, that because he was not only a lawyer and a federal prosecutor, but the head of the FBI, but also not surprising at the same time, because that's the type of people you have in the swamp up in your country, up in Northern Virginia, of people who are from the city. They didn't grow up hunting. They don't own guns. They might own one, if any, and they don't know much of anything about gun ownership, or they don't know people who own guns. I mean, it's a completely foreign world to them. And a lot of times those are the people at the Department of Justice that you're dealing with. And those are the judges that are appointed that you're dealing with. And that's why I'd like to see them make some federal judicial appointments just from middle America, just regular people, instead of picking out of the Ivy Leagues and people from New York, or other urban areas. Pick somebody from Western Virginia or West Virginia, or somebody who grew up in the country, or Kentucky, who grew up around guns. It's obvious that people like Comey did not. And if he believes it, that you can just buy guns online like this, I mean, of course, your random low information person, your low information voter, is going to believe that, just like they think that the Russians stole the 2016 election.
Yeah, they should appoint that guy who runs the civilrightslawyer.com.
Yeah. So where do you think this thing is going to go from here?
I don't know exactly. I mean, I wish I could say I had a crystal ball, but you know how this works. No one's really sure where anything will end up, especially with the courts. You never know what the courts are going to do. You're a lawyer, so you know that. But I do think the ATF is going to try to push more, and I think that they're emboldened. Right now, there's a case in California where the California is suing the ATF. And what I see happening is the DOJ just dropping that case. They're suing over the definition of an 80% frame as not being a firearm. They want it to be a firearm, and I can see the DOJ saying, "Oh, look, we had to change it because we got sued." They're like throwing up their arms. But I think this whole thing needs to be cleared up. I think we need not a case-by-case basis. My family is from Italy. My wife's family is from Italy. My wife is Italian. In Italy, they actually have the ability to get a lot of guns. People don't realize that. But their laws are clear cut. This is what you can have. This is what you can't have. There's no gray area, where here, there's always that gray area. I'm not saying that I like gun laws, because I don't like gun laws. The only gun law I really like is shall not be infringed. But at least they have a clear-cut definition of what they can and can't do.
Yeah, I can remember as a kid, my father had a Class 3 license to, have machine guns and transfer machine guns, and he was really more of a collector. He had all sorts of like cool stuff. Like, I think there was a fully automatic Thompson submachine gun that was originally confiscated out of the trunk of the car of one of Al Capone's henchmen.
Oh, nice.
And off I-95 in Florida. And he liked all sorts of stuff like that. And he used to get calls all the time that were obviously undercover ATF agents trying to create a crime to get him in trouble when he had done nothing wrong. So what they would do, because he would try to buy all sorts of collectible guns, not just machine guns, but all sorts of antique guns. And he'd put out ads in different magazines or newspapers. And so the ATF would find these, and they'd call, and they'd be like, yeah, I just, my father died, and he was a war veteran in World War II. And he brought this he brought this gun back, and it's I think it's a machine gun. I'm not sure. He never, he always kind of kept it in the attic, or maybe it's a Thompson. And I've never told anybody about it, and the government doesn't know about it. But I just want to get rid of it. And they'd try all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, and of course he wasn't gonna break the law. But you can see where, I mean, they're trying to create a problem, just where there is no problem. There's, a law-abiding citizen, and they've got nothing else better to do than to just go to seek somebody out and try to entice them to violate some federal gun law so that they can come after them.
No, absolutely.
And I don't, yeah, exactly. It's so confusing and tricky that not even the lawyers can figure out, what's illegal and what's not illegal. We have 5,000 federal criminal laws. How could any one lawyer or judge or anybody even understand all the things that are federal felonies and all the things that are not? And then you add in some sort of discretion, like the ATF having the ability to decide what's a firearm and not a firearm in their opinion,
and can change
coming
overnight
after you if their opinion changes. I mean, it's absolutely the definition of tyranny.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they can change the definition of a firearm overnight, which is kind of scary, because one day you could like own something illegal like bump stocks. All of a sudden you could own it and it was perfectly legal. The ATF said it's legal. Rick Vasquez, who used to like run Fat D, said it was legal. And then the ATF was like, you know what? We changed our mind. We were wrong. That's illegal now.
Do you know what's going on with the pistol stocks? Didn't the ATF reverse course on those as well?
That's been going back and forth. There is a disagreement with like a couple different pistol stock companies and the ATF, whether their stuff is legal or whether it's not legal. I don't think that's been settled, and I think that's being legislated, or not legislated, debated behind the scenes.
Do you think the Gun Owners of America is going to take any action here against the ATF, or any sort of litigation that you're aware of to try to deal with some of these issues?
I don't really want to tip our hand too much, but I would say that we are going to fight for the rights of everyone out there. And if you own if you own one of these 80% kits, one of the build buy kits from Polymer80, reach out to me directly at john.crump@gunowners.org. I can put you in contact with the right people, but we are looking for people who own that. And if you had the ATF agent show up at your house, we definitely want to hear from you.
What's the email again?
John.crump@gunowners.org.
All right, I'll just put it up on the screen there. All right, yeah. So if you are in a position of having bought one of these kits and you want to combine forces or make yourself known to the Gun Owners of America so that maybe they can help you or point you in the right direction, that's the guy to contact right now, John Crump at john.crump@gunowners.org. And because together is going to be a whole lot more powerful in court than just defending yourself as a single defendant or as a single plaintiff in a civil lawsuit. But
yeah, we have really good attorneys.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We have really good attorneys, and a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen some of the appellate work that the GOA, that lawyers for the GOA have been putting out in lots of different cases. And that's why I was saying that, while the NRAs, they're just trying to deal with some of the core issues or play politics, the GOA is actually getting involved in a lot of these, little cases that pop up all over the place, all over the country. And that's where the law is made. That's where these important laws are made. It's not just about the Second Amendment itself and, Heller and McDonald. And it's about all these little Fourth Amendment cases as well, where these blue cities or blue states or even red cities or red states are making, they're attacking AR-15s. Even, here in West Virginia, in Putnam County, the first county in West Virginia that declared itself to be a so-called Second Amendment sanctuary, they filed a brief at the Fourth Circuit in a case that I have, where they called the AR-15 basically a weapon of mass destruction that is only owned by, mass murderers, and is not useful for hunting, which is the purpose of the Second Amendment. That's the sort of stuff that's coming from a red county in a red state. And if people aren't paying attention, they'll get away with it. And the gun owners of America, fortunately, are jumping on a lot of these cases. And so I think it's a great idea to join that organization anyways, but especially if you're involved with this particular issue, definitely reach out to them. And, if it'd be better if there's some sort of group effort at challenging this thing, rather than to do it on an individual basis. And if they do come after you on an individual basis, always just remember to keep your mouth shut.
Yep. All right, John. I'm going to have to run. I got to get my kids to sleep. But I wanted to come on because I watched the show. And when you emailed me, it was funny because I'm a subscriber and I've been watching your stuff. And I've even commented on your videos, but you've never commented back to me.
Well, that's funny. I'm glad I emailed you, because I've been reading a lot of your articles on Ammoland, and that's where that's how kind of I've been keeping track of what's going on in the limited time I have. So and when I saw that you were right next door in Virginia, I definitely wanted to have you on. So I'd love to do it again. I appreciate you coming on and discussing this issue with me, and appreciate your work in the GOA, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, talk to you later, John. Appreciate it. So that's the website, or not the website, the email. If you're in the position of having one of these things and you don't know what to do, or your family member does, reach out to that guy, John Crump at gunowners.org. And go to their website as well. You can just Google it, Gun Owners of America. They do a lot of great work now. And, if you belong to the NRA or used to that, that's the new organization that's really on top of things. And I would suggest going to their website. They talk about the issues, and you can join that organization. And that's a worthy one to join right now. So I've got to go as well. It's been a long day. Believe it or not, sitting at this very desk. I've been in court half the day and in meetings the rest of the day. And isn't it bizarre that I can sit right here and be in court? It really is bizarre. It's kind of like Sean Hannity when he stands up, or he used to stand up from his table at Fox News, and the bloopers reels, and he's like wearing jeans. Well, I'm in court. I could have a tie on and everything, and I could literally be in my underwear, and nobody would know it. I'm not in my underwear right now, but thanks for watching. And I'll try to keep on top of this issue. This is really alarming that Biden hasn't even gotten into office yet, and the ATF is so emboldened, and they undertook this whole investigation during the Trump administration. And a lot of Second Amendment advocates, are hard on Trump because he did not rein the ATF in, and he allowed them to come after the bump stocks. And whether you like bump stocks or not, or think they're stupid, what was the argument? The argument is if you let them come after bump stocks, what's next? Well, pistol braces or 80% kits. And then what's after that? Are we going to come after the flintlock kits? Well, why not? Why not come after the flintlock kits? So whatever your particular interest is, you have to protect everything Second Amendment. And don't let them infringe anywhere, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And that's not just with gun rights, that's with any rights. You let them make you wear a face mask, they can then stick you with needles. They can eventually, on down the road, put you on a train car. I mean, the time to resist these things is early on. And if you don't, you embolden them, you let them set a precedent to do what they're going to do. And that's what government does. So email that guy if you know somebody who is in that category, so that they can put together some sort of, I don't know if it'd be a class action or a group effort, but you're going to be a lot stronger as a group. Or you can email me as well. And, if you're in West Virginia, I'll help in any way that I can. Not like I'm not busy already. But I appreciate you watching, and I was hoping to do a short video. I did keep it under an hour. So every time I say short, it ends up being long. But this time it really was short. And I'm not sure exactly when I'll do another live video. It just depends on, I'd like to make it a set schedule. It just depends on when I have time. And, or when there's just something really interesting going on that I feel compelled to rant about. But for now, I think that does it. If you can find this warrant online, it's actually on the Wall Street Journal's page, and maybe I'll put it up on the civilrightslawyer.com. But it's an interesting read to read how they do these investigations and the information that they put in these documents. And it offers a lot more insight. And I wish that state level and local search warrant applications were this detailed. So that is definitely something that federal government does, that the state level governments could really, instead of doing a form where you fill in, or copy and paste, and it takes you 10 minutes, it should be something detailed like this. All right. So until next time, that was Freedom is Scary, episode number 34. And next time we'll do 35.